Oh, wait. Where's my mind? Do you want the secret ingredient?
Yeah.
Or not?
Just give me a countdown and then we'll start.
Hold on.
5.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Asaph Cafe. I am your host, Asaph Adonai, and affectionately on my left, our aging rocker, Emmett.
Yep.
And of course, we haven't done very many cafes lately for 2020, so we got to do some catching up today. And through the magic of green screen, we are on the set of Superman the movie with Christopher Reeves. Isn't that cool?
Yes, I shut the doors.
That's fine.
Okay.
So isn't that cool? This lovely backdrop. And even though he doesn't want to be on front camera, I just want to say thanks to Leon for making this possible to do all these shots.
Wonderful.
Here. You know, we have 2 cameras on the cafe finally after all these years. So we get to do some close-ups and stuff like that. You want to start us off, Emmett?
Heavenly Father, bless our soda pop and our time together in Jesus' name.
I'm in agreement. How you been?
Well, I've had allergies. I'm having another allergy attack today. You know, it's not the great. There we are. It's not the greatest. I almost didn't know if I was gonna be able to make it today.
Well, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
Do the theme song here, you know. I'm gonna play the theme of Superman in a moment.
Wonderful. This is a perfect topic because this is one of my favorite movies. They did a great job. Ooh, a lot of history with this, but I'll let you introduce the Superman and the thing.
Okay.
I'll comment. I hate these allergies, and folks, I'm not looking forward to the spring. I'm looking forward to gardening, but I'm not looking forward to the spring because of allergies. You know how cold and wet it gets here in Montana.
Yeah.
It isn't sunny. I love the beautiful flowers, but for an allergy sufferer like myself, it's miserable. It's absolutely miserable. I've prepared everything. This is just not fun, you know.
Here we go.
It's like, you know, who's that guy in the Sex Pistols? He did a show and he was really kind of getting exhausted oh, good gravy. Johnny Rotten. Johnny Rotten said, "This is no fun." You know, after singing the song, "No fun, no." He said, "This is no fun. This is no fun at all." Well, I love doing the show, but allergies are no fun for me, you know.
Yeah. Let's do the theme Superman here. I'm sorry, let me do it again. I'll get it right.
All right. Spin in the dryer, spin around.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah. Spin in the dryer, spin around. In the spinning dryer. Yep.
Hello, Frank. Come on in.
You're on the show?
Come on in.
Oh, I wouldn't want to bother you.
Okay.
Come on in.
I was
That's what makes it fun. Yeah, when people come in. Come on in.
I was looking for the Paradise Alley.
What's Paradise Alley?
It's a Sylvester Stallone movie. It's my favorite movie. So anyway, I found one picture from it, and also they have this thing on copyright.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So, what do you think of the new backdrop, Frank?
Yeah, I like that.
We're on the set of Superman
It's
the
too
movie.
bad
Did you ever see? Yeah.
Yeah.
We can talk about that. Did you ever see the movie Superman the movie?
Yes, sir.
Did you see all the other Superman movies that they made afterwards?
Yeah.
They made 4.
I did.
No,
I did.
Yeah, the first one was with Christopher Reeves here, and the second one, all 4 of them were with Christopher Reeves. The second one.
Oh, they were?
Yeah. The first one, in case you haven't seen them, we can talk about that to the TV audience that may not have seen it. There were 4 Superman films with the same actor, Christopher Reeves, before he got injured. And the first one introduces, of course, Superman. It starts with them being on the planet Krypton.
Yes.
And, you know, Jor-El, Kal-El's father, was warning the people of Krypton that the planet was going to explode.
Yep.
But nobody believed him.
Right.
And they were threatening that if he would cause fear and mayhem and panic, that they would put him in the Phantom Zone. Now the Phantom Zone, it was like a type of prison on the planet Krypton. It was like this. It was like this. What do you call it? Glass. Flat glass that they encase you in, and you float for all eternity out in outer space as punishment. I mean, you're alive and everything, but you're trapped in this glass, flat. So, to save his son's life, Jor-El, he builds the ship, and then when the planet Krypton starts to explode, he launches his son off into outer space, headed for Earth, and of course. We're,
what was I thinking? Do you want some soda or not?
Sure.
I'll get an extra.
Why don't you give that to, why don't you go get another
I'll get a cup. How many more cups you want? Any?
Just one more,
two
more.
Okay.
I'll save that thought for when Frank comes back and we can talk more. But that's a beautiful backdrop though, there, you know, it really is. Let me try it again. While Frank's coming back.
Oh.
That's the beginning of Superman.
I'm already using.
What?
This one in my right hand is the one I'm already using.
That's fine. Help yourself. Now, Frank, as I was saying, the planet Krypton was going to explode, and before the planet exploded, there were 3 criminals on the planet Krypton, and they were exiled to the Phantom Zone. So they're floating through space. The bad guys they're in this glass case floating through space. Krypton blows up. If you be part of the second show, I'm gonna get some food because I want to do 2 cafes today. So I'll get you something to eat if you want for the second show. Yeah.
Oh wow.
But for now, I'm gonna make this point. So the bad guys are in the Phantom Zone. They're floating through space.
Yes.
The planet is blowing up, and Jor-El sends his son into space. Now, where Kal-El, that's his real name, instead of Clark Kent, Kal-El. Where he gets his powers is when he gets exposed to the rays of the yellow sun of the Earth. It alters his body's molecular structure, and he gets this incredible strength even as a baby. Because remember when he crashes on the Earth as an infant, he doesn't get hurt?
Yeah, and he climbs out of the hole.
He climbs out of the hole, and he lifts that truck when and that's as a baby. That's just getting this. That's just the start of his powers. And then as he gets older, he gets stronger and faster, and he has to learn more about his powers. But he doesn't learn that he can fly until he leaves his mom. And he goes to the. He builds that fortress of solitude.
Out of that small
he gets the fortress of solitude, and he meets his real father. And his father tells him where he comes from, and tells him all the rest of the powers that he's going to have that he didn't know he had, like the ability to fly and stuff like that. So that's kind of a flyover of Superman 1. Now Superman 2, this is interesting. Remember I told you the bad guys were in that Phantom Zone?
General Zod and 2 of the others, they were super criminals.
Now when those rockets were launched, Superman can't go to 2 rockets at the same time. Lex Luthor, shot those 2 rockets in number 1 to try to, wipe out a lot of people. So when Superman grabs one of the rockets, he launches into space. And right when he does that, that Phantom Zone is coming across the Earth. So that rocket hits the Phantom Zone, which causes General Zod and his other companions to get out of the Phantom Zone. So they're free. That's how they got out.
Yeah, actually, that's not quite how I've seen Superman 2 so many times. If you'll remember, there was a hostage situation in France, and there was a bomb strapped to this thing where the hostages were. What Superman had to do, I don't know if it was a nuclear bomb. I think it might have been a nuclear bomb or something. He launches it into space, and that is what breaks the Phantom Zone.
But anyway, the criminals get out, and remember I told you about the yellow sun? Well, they get exposed to the yellow sun, which causes General Zod and his other team to become strong as Superman. They are just as strong as Superman in number 2. because anybody from the planet Krypton who gets exposed to the rays of the yellow sun becomes physically strong. So Superman had to fight 3 people from his own planet that were just as equally strong as he was. That's what was interesting about number 2.
Yeah.
And of course, he was unable to fight all 3 of those villains who were just as strong as he was, so he had to figure out a way to outsmart them and take their powers away from them in order to defeat them. That was the synopsis of number 2. And of course, what happens is that Solitude of Fortress is home.
Yes.
Where Lex Luthor betrays Superman and tells these villains where he lives. So when they go to Superman's home, there's this chamber in the home, and Superman puts himself in that chamber and surrounds himself, and then the rays of Krypton come on the 3 villains that are outside of that protection thing. And that's how he was able to get their powers away from them. Because he outsmarts Lex Luthor and tells Luthor that whoever goes into that little molecule chamber will lose their powers. And it was a trick. Because he knew that Lex Luthor was going to betray him.
Right.
So Superman goes into that little protection, and then the rays of Krypton hit the rest of Superman's home.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's how they lose their powers, and then Superman was able to defeat them.
That's like the story that I think the Indians tell it. It's about a scorpion, and the scorpion says, "Well, take me across the water, because don't worry, I won't sting you." And then the beaver, or whoever, finally goes, "Okay, I will." After back and forth, no, because I know you sting.
Yeah.
So he finally lets the scorpion crawl on its back, and he goes across the water. And before the scorpion gets off, he stings him, because that's what scorpions do.
Yes.
Right, and that's what kind of Lex Luthor's character.
Right.
That's what he does. He betrays people.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so Superman had to lie in order to protect himself and protect Lois Lane and all that, because he knew Lex Luthor would betray him. So all the people from Krypton, those 3 villains, they thought that with Superman going in that chamber, he would lose his power.
Right.
And so the red rays went around, and they were thinking that it was for him, but it was really for those villains.
Right.
So, and you saw Superman 3, right?
Yes, I did.
You can tell the audience about Superman 3. What did you think of it?
I didn't think it was as good as the others, and but at least it had Richard Pryor, and Richard Pryor did a very funny thing, which was worth the price of admission. You see, it was an odd thing where it was kind of the plot was. I would have done a different plot. But there was something about a multi-billionaire, and I haven't seen it in so long. Where, well, for one, I think it kind of got ruined when Clark Kent went to his hometown, Smallsville, and tried to get a girlfriend, but that abusive boyfriend, Brad, was getting involved, and there was more here. But I knew there was this multi-millionaire who wanted to steal oil or something. Richard Pryor got mixed up with him, and it was kind of a JR type person from, Falcon, or from Dallas,
I see.
And basically, if I remember it, it's been so long, they wanted to kill Superman, of course, so they could steal the oil or something like this.
Yeah.
Well, kryptonite is the only substance that can kill Superman, because it's from Krypton to take away his powers.
Right.
So they made this artificial kryptonite, but he didn't know all of the elements, so Richard Pryor's character put in tar.
Oh, yeah, so it didn't, kill Superman, but it just made him act odd.
Evil.
Yeah.
Superman turned evil.
Yeah.
But Superman was being awarded something for saving somebody or something. How are we going to deliver the Krypton to Superman? Richard Pryor dressed up as an army ranger, an army someone, and made this big speech, this hilarious speech that I mean, in classic Richard Pryor, about plastics.
Oh, okay.
And something about, I mean, I have it on tape. When I first
because
heard
I
this,
didn't see Superman 3.
I had to bring it over sometime. I had tears in my eyes laughing so much. It was something about, folks, I represent plastic. I really do. And I represent plastic, or something about, we are facing a national crisis in plastics, a national plastic gap. Do you like to sit on church on Sunday? You like sitting at the Super Bowl? Sit on what? You sit on molded plastic seats. Molded. Something.
I see. Yeah, so he's throwing that comedy.
Exactly. Would you want your president sitting down to sign a peace treaty and have his ballpoint pen fly over and spill all over his nice, clean pants in front of the world leaders? No, thank you, Superman. You saved our bacon, and this is to show our gratitude. It's something about plastic, but then the tar didn't work. It made him evil.
Yeah,
he became evil Superman. It
I
lost
see.
his powers that way. Finally, they were able to make a machine which basically simulated kryptonite only in laser beam form, and they were able to almost kill Superman. Then Richard Pryor's character conscience got the better of him.
So he goes and saves Superman.
Yeah, it's been so it's been so long since I have seen, Oh, what happened to our guest?
He'll be back. Just keep talking. And then what about number 4?
The Quest for Peace. I saw that in the theater.
Yeah, I remember there was a scene where they duplicated another superhero, if I recall, but he only worked in the daytime, and at night.
That movie was so bad. It was such a corker. Superman for the Quest for Peace, what that was about was these kids in class were worried about nuclear war, and they were writing to the president or something. One little kid wrote to Superman and said, "Can you end nuclear war, get rid of all these nuclear weapons and throw them away?" So Superman does. Superman takes on that thing. Then there's this whole thing, we need to start up the arms race again. There's that stupid fake Superman robot that he has to fight on the moon. And at the end, we were back to square one. All the nuclear weapons of the world were remade. It was a corker of a movie. On a scale of 1 to 10, it was a 1. That movie was so bad.
Frank, did you see any of the Superman movies at all?
Yes, I saw that.
The first one? You saw the first one? But you didn't see 2, 3, and 4, huh?
I saw one. I think I might have saw the Richard Pryor one.
Yeah, number 3.
And then I saw another one, the first one, and then I saw another one where he lost his powers.
Okay.
Those are I know those 3 I saw. I think.
Oh,
okay.
I want
to focus more on you for a little bit, since you're the special guest. What kind of movies do you like?
Well, if we're gonna do another one.
We're gonna do another cafe after this.
Well, I was thinking Paradise Alley, and I found a picture.
Okay, I'll take a look at it as soon as we're done taping this here.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
What about Paradise Alley? Is that a movie or?
Yes, it's a movie. It's about Sylvester Stallone and all these professional wrestlers.
Okay.
And Sylvester Stallone, he's got a big brother, but he's his younger brother, and then he's got another brother. And they talked the big brother, who's really super strong, into being a wrestler, so he can get out of this bad area they live in. And that's what it's about.
All right, so we can put ourselves in the backdrop of that film and talk about that film in the next cafe too.
Yeah.
Okay.
But for now, thanks. That's good thinking. I wouldn't even thought of that. Because I want to do 2 tapings. Emmett will be gone, so you can keep me company, and Scott's going to be on the second one, and I'm going to go get some goodies for the second one.
All right.
But for now, what other kind of movies do you like?
Well, I don't know. Paradise Alley's pretty good.
You like science fiction films?
Probably, yeah. Sure.
Okay. What about comedy films? Like comedy?
The Jerk. That's pretty comedic.
Yeah, I remember that movie.
Yeah.
And
I was playing poker with Steve Martin.
You met him in real life?
Yeah, I was going down to the Flamingo when I was working in Las Vegas before I went to work.
Okay.
And early in the morning, and all of a sudden, Steve Martin, he was living there. And he comes down. I think he was making a movie with some lady, and he was all really dressed I mean, amazing. The clothes he had on must have been like $20,000 total.
Probably,
But he came down, and some lady was probably in his movie, I'm guessing. She came down with him. They sat at the table. Everybody just shut up. We were so awed that he was sitting at our table, and this one guy was really acting a fool before he got there. And he was just driving us nuts, right? And when even he shut up when Steve Martin, and it was so embarrassing in a way because we couldn't talk to the guy. We couldn't be nice because we didn't know how to be nice to somebody that was that famous.
Yeah. And they're just ordinary people, but they're just so well known, you know. And you know, some of these famous people, 'cause I've met some famous people. They're some of the nicest people. Some of them, you know.
Oh, they have to. They know how to be nice because you know people are crazy.
Yeah.
And like when you're in the like you are in the professional in the entertainment community.
Yeah.
You never know what somebody's going to do to you.
Yeah.
I know. I've had my share of both positive and negative.
The same here.
You know, of that. Maybe not to the degree of a Steve Martin.
I was singing a fictional song from a fictional movie I'm making by a fictional character because Scott asked me to sing the song and he went nuts. I mean, he thought, you know, this is me. You know, his mind didn't go, oh, this is a fictional movie done by a fictional character that Frank is playing. And, you know, his mind didn't register like that. It's like Larry Linfield. Larry Linfield. I think his name is from MASH. The guy that played Frank Burns. My mom hated that guy, even in real life, because for some reason her mind wouldn't register that that's a character. And the reason you hate him because he's doing a good job.
Of course.
That's what he's supposed to do. But you need to take reality and realize that you're watching a fictional
but see the
show.
thing with actors, you know, really good actors and character actors and things, some people take it literally too personal. They forget that these people are just actors. It's all make-believe, all pretend, but they take it so personal. They take it so personal that they think it's real, and
it's like
some of these actors pay a price, you know, with their really fans. You know, fans being angry at them.
Well, it's just like when Steve Martin sat down. We just clamped up. We didn't know what to do. You know, that was our reaction.
Yeah. How long did you work in Vegas when you were there?
Oh, I've worked off and on in Vegas for about I don't know.
Because I used to play there too. I used to play at the well, it was known as the Marina Hotel at the time. It's the MGM now.
Oh.
You know that little hotel across from the Tropicana?
Yes.
I used to play there.
Got the big lion and everything.
I used to play there years ago.
The MGM company owns the casino that guy killed everybody from his way upstairs when they were having some party. And so MGM is suing all the people's relatives that are suing them.
Oh, I guess I wasn't aware of that because it was like 40 years
crazy
ago.
Down there. It's a big soap opera, and you get to read about all this stuff in their entertainment newspapers.
Yeah.
You know, all these people that run these casinos and all.
Yeah, see, when I was in Vegas, that had to be about 40 years ago. I was only in my 20s at that time.
Oh.
And I played, you may know him, I played with a guy named Pat Guidry in High Rollers. He was known as the Mockingbird of Soul. He sang the music of Otis Redding and Louis Armstrong and all the rest of the people from the past.
Well, I interviewed Sleeper from Sleeper's Lost and Found here before he died.
Okay.
Here in Missoula at classy KLCY radio station.
Yeah.
And I think he used to perform down in Vegas.
Yeah.
On the radio or what, I'm not sure. Vegas and or Phoenix, both, I think. And he was really an interesting character, all the stuff that he knew. You know, it's just amazing all the you know, backstory a person gets from just existing and doing their job.
Yeah.
And then they end up in a little town like Missoula, and you get a chance to interview them. I used to actually live with a guy named Val Chalk, and he was a great pianist.
Okay.
And I used to go watch him sit there at the piano bar, and he would play the piano. Once in a while, he'd lose his job. He wouldn't have enough money. He'd come and stay at my house.
Yeah.
You know?
Definitely.
And I knew him.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Now, this is an interesting Superman story. This movie, Superman 1, in 1978, was my first introduction to Superman. I was one of the few kids, I was about age 10 or so, 10. I was one of the few kids that wasn't into comic books. I had never heard of Superman. And I watched Saturday morning cartoons, and I'm sure it's
But you didn't watch the superhero cartoons on Saturday mornings?
It was just science fiction strictly with me.
Okay.
Strictly science fiction. And so my mother took me to see the Superman movie, and I knew nothing about Superman.
Okay.
And she introduced me to Superman, and I would ask her questions like, who's that guy? Clark Kent, who's the... Well, that's Superman's alter ego. She knew more about Superman than me. And I should have known everything about Superman. Most kids did. And of course, when Superman was saving people, even, trying to fix that train, go underneath that train when the... I asked my mother, how in the heck can he do that? And she said, well, he's the Man of Steel. And I knew nothing about this, but I was hooked on Superman ever since.
Now, did you ever did you ever get a chance to see Superman, the television show with the actor George Reeves, the black and white?
Oh, yeah.
You never saw any of those?
I saw them. I loved them. As a matter of fact, they came on in rerun on local television that summer that Superman was released, and just in the fall. And I wanted to see this. And I wanted to see it, and and I got hooked on that too. So I was hooked on Superman.
The television show actually was closer to Superman the comic books, if you think about it, because the episodes that he was fighting mobsters, gangsters, that was who Superman fought in the original comic thing. But then they started appealing to kids, and that's when the format started changing on the television series. They wanted to cater more to children.
Well, actually,
so they changed their script writing from Superman fighting gangsters and things to more the comical side of that series before it went off the air, because it was on for 6 seasons, 6 years. 6 seasons.
Well, actually, I think even the comics must have evolved, because Superman was based on the comic books, so they would have had Lex Luthor.
Yeah,
they
did, but I mean the original Superman, the comic books, it started with him fighting gangsters and television shows and all. And because if you watch that TV series, they had more shooting up and people shooting at Superman with guns and things, and the bullets would deflect off his chest, obviously, and I guess if you're a child watching something like that, that's not going to work. But if you see like Superman saving someone falling off of a helicopter maybe or something like that, from a child's point of view, it would probably work. So that's why they start changing that TV series.
I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Well, actually, all the kids love Superman. I was reading in Starlog, the science fiction magazine, or somewhere.
It's a popular character, it really is.
That George Reeves, the one that played that Superman on TV, he committed suicide.
Yeah, he did.
All the kids on the block were talking about that. That's what the kids on the block were saying. Did you hear that George Reeves, who played our favorite character, Superman, he committed suicide? No,
but there's theories about that, because they had a movie with Ben Affleck, the actor. And they presented 3 versions of how they thought we lost George Reeves. One was the suicide, one was him being murdered, and one was some kind of natural cause or something, if I recall. But that was just a movie,
Yeah.
Who's George Reeves?
He's the actor that played Superman in the TV series.
Yeah.
Christopher Reeves and George Reeves just the same last name?
They just have the same last name, but they weren't related. So George Reeves was the actor that played in the TV series.
And I didn't like the cape that Superman had on the TV series. It was just 2 straps hung together. And
well, you got to remember, they didn't have the technology back in 1950 like they did in 1978 when they did.
Well, you can make a simple cape. That's not technology. Make a cape that actually works and fits, rather than 2
Well, because I read the history of that show. George Reeves was really wearing a bodysuit.
Really?
To get that muscular. He wasn't muscular like that at all. He was real thin.
Yeah.
I did a story on George Reeves once.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and he was a very thin person. But when they shot Superman, it was a bodysuit that he would put on that had the broad shoulder look, and he had the right facial look.
Yes, he did.
As an actor, to pull that off. But
same with Christopher Reeves. Yeah, perfect for it.
Right. But with Christopher Reeves, I think he worked out, because see, back in the 50s, people weren't working out to play these characters. They used bodysuits, but as time went by, they wanted to make it more authentic, So they had these actors start working out and eating and gaining pounds and stuff for these characters. Now, me personally, if I were an actor, I don't think I would do that.
No,
but,
nor would I.
I would not
I
alter.
would.
No,
I don't think
I'd
I
be
would alter
committed.
my.
Yeah.
Well, that's the way to do it now. I don't think I would want to alter my physical body. 'Cause
Right.
then when the movie's over, you got to take them pounds off.
I know.
And stuff, and I've heard some stories of people not being able to take the pounds off once they get them back.
The only thing
Put
I
'em
won't
on.
do is let them cut my hair. Even in acting over at the college, I told them, no, you ain't touching my hair.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
way.
And I understand that. I mean, that's a personal thing,
Well, it's an
you know,
image.
hair. Yeah.
You got to have an image. I went and watched, remember Cheech and Chong?
Yes, I
Oh,
do.
yes.
Okay, Tommy Chong went to Vegas to the Sunset Station when it opened.
Yeah.
So I'm like, wow, okay, I got to go see Tommy Chong. So he's there
Okay.
with his wife. And
Oh,
he just
okay.
sat there on a stool and they talked to us and told us stuff.
Cool.
Well, the thing about this story is, the way it relates is Tommy had shaved.
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yes, he just did not look like Tommy Chong with
I see.
Cheech and Chong, and
Yeah.
it just wrecked his image.
Yeah.
So, a guy told me years ago, get an image.
Yeah.
And the thing is, Tommy Chong had an image,
Mhm.
and I'm not saying he was doing Cheech and Chong shows after that, but still he lost his image.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Once you get something that works
Yeah.
for you, you should keep it.
Yeah.
And once you're doing something like my videos,
Yeah.
I've got my beard,
Mhm.
I've got my look. I don't want people to see anything different.
Interesting.
Yeah, I
for
don't
now.
blame you for that. It's just like with this candelabra here, that's the
Right, just like that candelabra. That's like your
that
trademark.
works for that works for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I got it from Liberace. You remember the pianist from the
Yeah.
past?
Yeah.
You know where he got it from?
Where?
He got it from a movie called A Song to Remember. It was a 1945 movie.
Really?
Yeah, with the actor
Really?
Cornel Wilde. I don't know if you remember him or not. Cornel Wilde,
No.
famous movie star. In this movie, A Song to Remember, Cornel Wilde's character was Chopin in the film. And this was during the time of Beethoven, and Beethoven's music was popular, and Chopin wanted to play his own music and not the music of Beethoven. And they had a scene where Chopin put a candelabra on the piano,
Mm-hmm.
and Liberace saw that film and adapted that idea. Of course, Liberace's been gone since 1987. It's 2020 now, so I've been doing it, and it works for me.
Yeah, definitely.
It does. I feel blessed to be able to take a
Yeah.
candelabra and just carry the tradition on, I guess. Plus, I'm an African American, as they call it. I hate that term, but anyway.
Yeah.
But you don't see a lot of African American people with a candelabra, so
Yeah.
for me, it just works.
Yeah.
But I just want to throw that history at you. Yeah, it came from that 1945 movie, A Song to Remember. Now, they had candelabras on the piano in the days of Mozart and Beethoven, but it wasn't for show business. It was probably because they didn't have the lighting system in that time that we have today. They didn't just walk in a room, turn the light switch on like we do.
Yeah, we
So
have
they
a
had
lot
to
of
have-
nice lights nowadays, and you can really cut the light too, and just
Yeah, so they probably had
instead of spilling
candelabras
all
and
over.
candles. Yeah,
Like you
and
can take
stuff.
that light there, shine down here, and you can just cut it right here.
Yeah.
So it's all black here, but we're just
Mhm.
getting the spill here.
And you know
spill
what,
over.
guys? We only got about 15 minutes left. This went by so fast.
Wonderful. Yeah.
We're almost out of time. We got about 15 minutes left,
All right.
if even that.
Yeah. It's interesting though. Have you seen the new Superman movies from like a few years ago, like Superman Returns? They did a
I
remake
liked
of-
it, but
I didn't like it at all.
the
I
only
didn't
problem
like
I
it at
had
all.
with it's a little bit too high tech.
Yeah.
Too modern. It's too modern, I think.
Well, I thought both movies
know?
were slow. Superman Returns and that other Superman thing that they made. It was slow, boring, uninteresting, politically correct, yuppified. I could not get into it. It lost its comic book feel.
Yeah.
Of the
That's what I
comic
mean
book.
by high tech, and I know that Superman came out like in the 1930s as far as the
Yep.
comics and stuff, but if they're gonna, in my judgment, if they're gonna do, stuff in the comics, I think they should stick to
absolutely.
the comic. Don't you think?
Absolutely.
Wouldn't you say? I mean,
Absolutely.
The writing, the concept of the movies, I think should be more like the comic books instead of the
I
modernization.
agree completely. That's one reason
but-
I loved Challenge of the Super Friends or the Super Friends cartoon.
Yeah.
It stuck to that comic book feel.
It did. You
I
remember
loved
the
it.
Super Friends, don't? Did you ever watch the Super Friends?
It was a
Maybe.
cartoon.
It was a cartoon. It was I think it came out in the 70s.
Yeah.
It had originally it was Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Batman.
Really? Huh. Cool.
Cartoon characters, you know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was just a cartoon. It was a pretty popular cartoon. I don't know if you ever saw it or not.
I don't know.
And then as it expanded, they had the Flash, and they had
Did they have Hulk?
no, not the Incredible
I
Hulk.
used to like that guy.
Yeah, I
The
like
cartoon character guy.
That's what I'm talking about. The cartoons. Yeah, we're talking about the
really
Super
solid.
Friends.
I wonder if Hulk was Marvel because
Yeah,
Superman's
he was
DC,
Marvel,
so it might have been.
Spider-Man, and the Hulk. They're Marvel comics, and Superman is DC Comics. Yeah. So, but with the Super Friends, they just combined all those heroes together. They had, I think it was Birdman. I think it was.
Birdman?
Yeah. He was like this. He had this beak and these wings. And,
Cool.
And he had these powers. And then they had the Green Lantern, I believe, was part of that too. Wasn't the Green Lantern?
I can't remember.
Part of the Super Friends.
Yeah.
And then they had the Wonder Twins.
Oh yeah.
Wendy and Marvin.
Yes.
They were like these teenagers, and they had like they had these half rings.
Yes.
And when they put the two rings together, then they become super strong.
Yes.
Wonder Twin powers activate.
Yep.
And they go like this.
I remember that line.
They put the two rings together, and then they become super strong. Or it's pretty cool. Yeah, they were just teenagers, just plain old teenagers.
Yeah.
So they joined the Hall of Justice, I think it was called.
Yeah, exactly. Super
So
Friends
they all
was
lived
the Hall
at
of
Superman. Yeah, they all lived at the Hall of Justice.
I wonder
All
what
Superman
other
was the
countries
leader.
have, for superheroes and things like we do.
I never
like
thought
Russia,
about
do
it.
you think they'd have things like we do, or you think they
I
just
think
use our
I think
stuff?
theirs is totally different from what I understand about other countries.
I think that
Having lived overseas, because like in Japan, it's Ultraman.
Really?
Yeah, I lived in Asia when I was a kid.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
and we used to watch Ultraman, all that stuff. Ultraman is a superhero. He's like this real tall. He's like the size of Godzilla, and he would fight the Godzilla monsters. He had these powers, and he had this pointed head, and he had this thing on his chest. Where when he flies into the Earth's atmosphere, eventually he starts getting weaker because he's exposed to the Earth's atmosphere, and then this warning light would start blinking on his chest. And he'd have to fly to the sun to get more energy and then come back down. That was the Japan superhero. And then they had another one, Johnny Sacco and his flying robot. I don't know if you know
Johnny
that
Sacco?
show. Yeah, Johnny Sacco. Johnny Sacco was a little boy, about a 10-year-old little boy. And the robot was this robot about the size of Godzilla. And he had these powers. You had to tell the robot what to do mechanically. And he had like these missiles that would come out of his fingers like this. And he had a mega punch, and he'd go, and he'd hit Godzilla, and Godzilla would fly away back, and But to answer the question, different countries have their versions of superheroes.
Yeah, because the reason I was thinking about that also after I mentioned it was that I know they have professionals in Russia, and they go over our movies, and they do their own verbiage.
Yeah, they have their
our
own
movies
versions
so
and
they
they
can
translations.
understand it,
Yeah,
translators.
translations, and then they have the voice actors and stuff because
it's
they can't
actually
change
a
the
job.
images.
Yeah.
Like they may take the images that we have in the U.S., but they have the translation in their language.
Right, that's
Stuff like that. Yeah.
It's
And
really
stuff like
something,
that.
and that way the Russian people get to watch.
Yeah, they can watch, and then we get to watch.
I don't know why those guys aren't more free about the arts.
Well, because you got to remember, and I think you and I once talked about this. In different countries outside of the United States, they don't look at democracy the way we do in this country and freedom. They're born, with they're raised, to not appreciate freedom and democracy so much as we do in the U.S.
You would think that Russia would be one of the biggest countries that would, like the arts, like we do on television, because one of the greatest, if not the greatest, acting teachers that wrote books. I think he's written 3 of them. I read one of them for acting, and I'm supposed to read the other 2, I guess. But he's just an incredible writer. When I read that first book, it was like I knew everything that he wrote. I read that book within just like a split seconds, respectively speaking.
Yeah, I was just thinking when we finish this taping, before I go to the store.
And he's a Russian.
Yeah. When we finish this taping, I got to show you what Johnny Sacco looks like on the computer.
Okay.
Now, Johnny Sacco was a kid, and see what it was is the synopsis of Johnny Sokko and his flying robot?
Yeah, what was it? Sounds fascinating.
Well, no, it did, and then you might like this.
Yeah,
the bad guys were building this giant robot the size of Godzilla, and it was a very powerful robot because it could fly and it can shoot out fire and everything, just like Godzilla. And the bad guys forced this scientist to create this giant robot. But before they activated the robot would obey the very first voice that it hears, period.
Right.
And so the bad guys were on the verge of activating the robot after it was completed with these powers. And it was sitting in a laboratory just like this. And the bad guys were just about to speak, and Johnny Sokko was this curious little kid that went into that laboratory before the bad guys could get in there. And he says, "Giant robot, move forward."
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So, because he was a curious little kid.
Right.
So the
now it's gonna obey him.
robot hears this child's voice.
Right.
And it ticked off the bad
Oh,
guys
yeah.
because now they couldn't get control of the robot because the child had spoken into the robot. So the bad guys were going to try to kill this kid to keep him from using that robot for good.
Yep.
And so the good guys at the headquarters that were trying to fight the bad guys, they had to recruit this child because the robot will only obey this child because the kid spoke into the microphone.
Yep.
So they had to train this kid to be a secret agent,
Yep.
with the other agents. And then they had to protect this child too, since he was a child. They had to protect him from all the bad guys and all the monsters, from different planets. And that's the synopsis of Johnny Sokko and his flying robot, because the kid's name was Johnny Sokko. And he was a curious little kid. He just happened to go in that laboratory and saw that giant robot and spoke into the microphone.
Yeah.
So the kid became like a superhero, but the robot was a superhero.
The robot was a
kid
superhero, but the
controlled it.
kid controlled it. So the good guys had to recruit this little boy, and they had to teach him how to work with the good guys, which he was a smart kid anyway, but he was still a kid. Yeah, how kids are. They go into a laboratory, they see something curious, they're gonna act up. They're gonna do something. So, and then of course, since he was a child, he wasn't able to fight a grown man or fight the monster. So they had to not only teach this child how to work with the good guy organization, they had to teach him how to control that robot. So that kid learns all that, and he tells that robot when to fight the monsters from different planets and stuff. Because this robot had tremendous power. He could shoot fire out of his arm. He could shoot missiles out of his fingers. He could fly. He had things out of his eyes. He could, do things to just knock out monsters and to wipe them out and stuff. But nobody could control that robot but that kid. So that was the series, Johnny Sokko and his flying robot.
Yep.
And it was cool because the robot would have Johnny Sokko in his hands like this flying through the air, and he'd say, "Giant robot, land!" And a robot would land. He says, "Okay, giant robot, use your missiles." And he'd go, "Whoo, whoo, whoo." And these missiles would literally come out of the fingers and
Interesting.
And stuff like it was a pretty cool show.
Yeah.
But and it was funny because those bad guys, if they had gotten control of that robot, they would have ruled the world. Because no planes or rockets or anything can stop this robot. It was a specially designed robot by a scientist that built it against his will. And so the scientist, he tells the good guys, "You've got to get someone's voice into that robot before those bad guys." Because after he built the robot, the bad guys were going to kill him, right? And just before he dies, he tells one of the agents, "You got to get someone from your organization to speak into the robot, because the first voice that robot hears, he's going to obey it." So if the bad guys had spoken to it, that would have been it.
Yep.
See?
Yeah.
They would have ruled the world, because nothing can stop this robot. This robot is extremely powerful. It's like Superman, but it's a big robot. Very strong, can destroy buildings and everything, and the bad guys would have just had a field day with that.
That would be a good idea. Maybe look up a set from one of the Cheech and Chong movies. I wonder if there'd be a good picture on that.
Well, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you guys both Johnny Sokko. We're almost out of time. I'm going to show you what Johnny Sokko looked like and see how powerful this robot. And it looked like a pharaoh, Egyptian pharaoh, the robot. It had all these designs, incredibly powerful robot.
Yeah, interesting.
Now, Japan has really good light shows in their lounges, in their clubs. I've seen them on TV. It just makes me want to go there.
Well, you know, when my family lived in Asia, we just watched a lot of Godzilla movies and stuff. And you know how much it cost to see a movie when we lived in Taiwan?
How much?
It was a quarter.
Well,
yeah. My mom used to take me and my brother to the movie theater on Saturdays when we lived in Asia, and it was 25 cents to go into a movie theater back in the mid-'60s to watch a movie.
Amazing.
They were primarily those anime movies or Godzilla type movies and things like that, because we were living in Asia, so we didn't see a lot of American television shows.
So how expensive was that? Was that a lot of money, a quarter back then?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it would be like paying $5 because you got to remember the cost of living was so much lower.
Right.
It's like the Depression, you know. You go and buy a loaf of bread for a nickel, for example, and you think, well, gosh, that's not much, but in that time period, that was a lot.
Right.
So it's the same principle.
I look at my I had to go to the Social Security office for some reason a while back, and so they gave me a rundown of my jobs that I've done in the past.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. You know, you see it decade after decade after decade, how your wage goes up and up and up and up.
Yeah.
And you go, wow, I mean, I only made that much money, $1.25 an hour, and and then it's $2.25, and then it's $3.35, and now it's like, golly, you got to make so much money now just to make ends meet.
That's horrible.
Yeah, but I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna show you guys with Johnny Sock on his flying robot. I'm gonna show you some clips in there when we leave in a few minutes, and you'll get an idea. Yeah. But television and movies were very different in Asia when I was a little boy growing up, and it was just a different culture.
Yeah. I must say though, I never liked the Cheech and Chong movies. I know a lot of people did, but
I liked the first one. Did you like it, Frank?
Oh, I don't remember what it was.
It glorified marijuana and it had raunchy humor. That's why I never liked it.
Well, you got to look at it in its context. It wasn't really glorifying marijuana. It was the characters, and that's what they were into.
Yeah.
Well, they had a scene. It may not work for you, but I found it amusing. They had this big, giant marijuana. It was about like the size of a sausage, I guess to describe it. Yeah. And they were smoking it in the car, and the marijuana was coming out of the tailpipe.
Oh.
And there was this car full of nuns that came behind them, and the marijuana went into the air conditioning in the nuns' car, and they got that contact high.
Oh, cool.
I found that really amusing.
I just don't.
They weren't doing anything blasphemous. It was just that crazy hippie type humor.
Yeah.
When you look at it in its context.
Well, it had the raunchy humor also for no reason. Like when some relatives used to like it. I'm not even saying. I've seen some of the Cheech and Chong. They had a dope-a-thon to raise money so you can buy dope. And it was just raunchy humor.
I know, but when you say raunchy, it wasn't like filthy dirty, like with cuss words. It was just that unusual humor that for that time period and for those characters. So that's why it didn't bother me, because I looked at it in its context and stuff. I mean,
well, I wouldn't let my kids watch Cheech and Chong.
It's like a hippie movie. Like if you watch the hippie movie, you're going to see Flower Child. You're going to see the attire of that time period and stuff like that. So, but just food for thought, though.
Even as a punk rocker, used to be a punk rocker, I'm pretty square. I like Lawrence Welk as well as punk rock. So
yeah, I like Lawrence Welk too. What a great legacy he left.
Yeah. What great singers.
Yeah.
What great performers.
But you know what I liked about the Lawrence Welk show was how modest people were. You know what I mean when I say modest? They're dressed.
Yeah.
The women weren't flopping their twins all over the place. Stuff like that. It was really modest and clean. You could sit there with your children, your grandchildren, and and it was just a wholesome, clean, and they were very talented musicians.
Very well.
And another thing about the Lawrence Welk show, if you notice, they all wear the same costumes, the same clothing. That was probably their niche for that show. And I know that a lot of people think Lawrence Welk is corny, But if you really pay attention to it, I don't think it is.
No, it's just wonderful, easy listening.
Yeah, it's clean music. It was a clean family
show.
And you didn't have to worry about what your children were watching or.
And that was Lawrence Welk's idea, because I have his book, Wonderful, Wonderful, My Life with My Musical Family. That was the whole idea behind it.
Yeah, well, he was a very taskmaster boss, and you have to have that sometimes.
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, I even learned on the Easy Listening station, you know the Champagne lady, Norma Zimmer?
Uh-huh.
She was hired after Lawrence Welk fired the first Champagne lady. The reason he fired the first Champagne lady, the Champagne lady was wearing a dress, but the dress came out to here, just where the shoes are, and said, that's too revealing. You've got to cover the entire
legs.
They
had a different standard in the 50s, because if you look at the old sitcoms, husband and wives never slept in the same bed.
That's true.
They had bunk beds. You watch the Dick Van Dyke Show.
Well, they had beds next to each other.
Exactly.
Yeah, but they were like these bunk bed styles. Yeah, and the reason they did that was because it would not take away from the comedy.
I agree with that. Yeah.
See, they had a different censorship laws and stuff in the 50s and all that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they used to have.
And like even with Leave It to Beaver, they even had the bedroom door closed in the original Leave It to Beaver with the parents. You never saw the parents in their bedroom.
Yeah.
When Beaver would knock on the door, his mother or father would open the door and say, "What do you want, Beav?" kind of thing.
Yeah. How much time do we have?
About 2 minutes left.
Wow.
We're signing out right now. So, Frank, thanks for sitting in, and you're welcome to sit on the second show. We'll get on the backdrop of that idea you've got, and we'll have you sit here, and then Scott will sit there, and we can talk about that movie. You saw it. You saw the movie, right?
What?
The movie that you want to be on the backdrop of.
Oh, Paradise Alley. Sure, I've seen that movie.
Yeah, I'll let you carry the show, and you can talk about that to the TV audience there.
Okay.
But as we sign out of here, this went by so quick. It just went by so quick. So
the last 15 minutes seemed long, though. When you told us that we were down to 15 minutes, all of a sudden I was getting like, oh man.
Oh, we're done now. I'm going to make these acknowledgments, and we're going to sign out. So I am Asaph Adonai, your host. We're on the set of Superman the movie. Thank you, Leon, for your patience back there. And on my left, affectionately, our aging rocker Emmett, our special guest Frank. So, Emmett, you got any final words you want to say?
Yeah, there were these two washing machines. It's a real joke. There were these two washing machines, and they saw a hat in their way. One said to the other, "Is that in your way?" And the other said, "No, it's in your way, and it's blocking my view." Those were jokes I made up in high school. Surreal.
Oh, sounds like George Carlin. That's when he made his stuff up when he was a kid.
Yeah, that's what it worked for him.
14 HBO specials he did.
Yeah, he was quite
stand-ups.
Oh, yeah.
I used to watch George Carlin when I was a kid when he was on the Ed Sullivan Show before he changed, but he was pretty funny.
He got booted from Sonny and Cher doing the Weatherman.
Yeah.
Whatever, the Weatherman or whatever.
Yeah,
it's those censorship laws. It's those censorship laws. All right, guys, we're totally out of time, so thanks for sitting in, and I'll show you Johnny Sacco, and then we'll set up in a little bit. I'm going to go to the store, get some goodies, and we'll do that second taping. So I am your host, Asaph Adonai, and until our next show, Maranatha. Will you guys make yourself at home?
Yep.
Yeah, make yourself at home. And
now, where are you going to get something to eat?
Yeah, I'm just going to go to the store real quick. Okay. Make yourself at home. I'll set everything down.
Didn't you want to play the closing theme? This guy's in love with you.
You don't have to do that this time.
All right.
Sign us out now. We're done. Or fade us out or whatever. That was fun.
Did we stop taping or not?
Yeah, we're done.
So, should I look for another picture on Paradise Alley?
Yeah, we'll do that right now.